The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries.
Thank you for listening to UBM Praise.
SWJ, if you please. Sir Walter Jones. Who that? Who that? Sir Walter Jones. Oh, yeah. Sir Walter Jones. Come on, come on. Sir Walter Jones. Put them hands up. Sir Walter Jones. Hey, you know that. Sir Walter Jones. Who we listening to? The Sir Walter Jones Show. Yeah, I know that's right. This is the Sir Walter Jones Show with co-host Alvin Carter. We are a Christian talk show that tackles the hot topics in a believer's walk. Get in on the conversation now by calling 773-675-5906. Sir Walter Jones. Sir Walter Jones. Come on, everybody. Sir Walter Jones. Let's do it one time. Sir Walter Jones. Ladies. Sir Walter Jones. Fellas. Sir Walter Jones. We're listening to the Sir Walter Jones Show. Yeah, I know that's right. It's Fireside Friday. Sit back, relax, grab some tea and crumpets, and let's talk about the current events of the week. Right here on the Sir Walter Jones Show.
Friday.
We stopped listening to each other. We didn't respond or react. We got frustrated with each other.
For Complex News, I'm Sean Evans, and University of Missouri President Tim Wolf has resigned in the wake of intense pressure from protest groups who claim that the school failed to respond or react to a number of alleged racist incidents on campus. On Saturday night, more than 30 football players stated that they will no longer participate in football-related activities until the school's president is removed from his post. The athletes were backed up by head coach Gary Pinkel, who tweeted that the team is united, as well as the athletic department, which co-signed their athletes' right to address campus issues. At issue is a series of alleged racist incidents that have occurred on campus over the last few months, including slurs being hurled at members of the Legion of Black Collegians and a swastika drawn in a dormitory bathroom with human feces. Many claim that Wolf failed to confront these issues, and on October 21st, the Concerned Student 1950 group issued a statement of demands that included Wolf's removal from office. In the time since, a group of protesters have decided to camp out on campus, while grad student Jonathan Butler has been on a hunger strike since November 2nd. The site was a scene of celebration this morning, however, as news broke that Wolf would be resigning from his position as school president.
The response to this announcement, I'm sure, ranges from joy for some to anger to others, and that's why we're here today.
Can't help but to feel like the football team tipped the scale here. The school probably could have ignored the collection of tents on the lawn and a hunger strike or two, but the threat of a forfeit on Saturday and the millions of dollars at stake seemed to have inspired immediate and significant action. We're probably a ways away from seeing concrete changes to some of the issues at Missouri, but it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. That's the news for now, but for more on this story as it develops, subscribe to Complex on YouTube today.
Hello everybody, it's the Walter Jones Show. I am he. Friday. Fireside Friday. Sit around the mic and talk about what happened all week long. Yeah, this is the only time and day that we do a date stamp. Today is November the 13th. Friday, y'all, at 4 o'clock in the p.m. in Chicagoland area. It is a sunny, cold day outside. Yeah, don't go out there right now because it's cold. If you don't like the cold, stay inside. Unless you got to go out there and make some money. Make it rain, boo-boo. Hey, there's been a lot of stuff going on this week in the news, and we're going to talk about it, but one particular thing we want to focus on today is black college life on a white campus. Black college life on the white campuses. Yeah, I'll talk about my story. I've never been a student on a white campus. I went to a historical black college, the great HBCU. and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But as you know, this being Friday, we try to talk about some of the stuff that really hit the newspapers. Those of you who do get the papers, I know a lot of you don't read them anymore. In fact, a lot of them have been debunked. They closed the doors because y'all stopped reading them. Y'all went online. But there are some breaking news, and there's some shooting going on in Paris today. 11 people died today in coordinated Paris attacks, and we're going to pray for the families of those in Paris. And probably this evening we'll hear more about that particular attack. Just a crazy week in America and around the world, and we want to focus on it because a lot of Christians, because this is a Christian show, and I do know that a lot of Christians don't look at the news. You don't watch the news. Especially because today's news has become entertainment. Fox, that's an entertainment show. MSNBC and CNN. And a lot of it is entertainment because the pundits, they're not like the Peter Jennings of our day, the Michael, the Brokaw and the Dan, what's his name? Dan on CBS. Yeah, Dan Rather. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what happened to those guys? Tom Brokaw. This is Tom Brokaw. Those guys, they didn't give their opinions. They reported the news as they saw it. Today, these guys report the news and then they give their opinions and then they go into fights and it becomes highly opinionated and it becomes entertainment. And it's sometimes it's hard for me to watch it. So sometimes I got to go to satire to watch to see what really goes on in the news, like the Daily Show or the Stephen Colbert. Of course, those two shows have different hosts now, but there's no Colbert show anymore. He's over there with CBS. He took over the what's his name, Letterman show. But anyway, still it's news. Although it's satire, it's funny, but it brings awareness to the truth. But yeah, University of Missouri this week. Mizzou, President Tim Wolf and Chancellor both resigned on this past Tuesday, and the University of Missouri. The board of curators named Michael Middleton interim president. Yep, and he decided that he was going to take care of all of the demands from the black faculty, from the black students. That is, he's going to all the demands that they're giving him. He says, "I'm going to check them off one by one." He says he's been doing it anyway for a while. But Mizzou, they would need about 400 more black faculty and staff to even meet the students' demands. That's just the way it is. And it's a tough cookie there. So we want to talk about the things that are going on in these campuses as it pertains to the blacks, African Americans, coloreds, Negroes. You guys are going to be called something in another 20 years from now. So I don't know what you are today. Other than African American, it's going to be something else, trust me. And you got these derogatory terms you call each other. You know, everybody's my nigga. I'm not sure understanding how that became a term of endearment all of a sudden when it was at one time one of the worst words you can use. Now it's a term of endearment. So some of there have been uprising in a lot of student campuses. Okay, a lot of them, and I want to see that. Tina, Lisa, yeah. Where you going? You gonna be you? I'm gonna have to do something about you. Yeah, I got interrupted by somebody who gave me some. Don't nobody bring me no bad news. Anyway, student protest encompasses a wide range of activities that indicate student dissatisfaction with a given political or academic issue and mobilization to communicate this dissatisfaction to the authorities, university or civil or both, and society in general, and hopefully remedy the problem. These are student protests, and there have been protests all throughout history. 1968 protest in Poland, the Bucharest student movement in 1956, the Great Butter Rebellion. It goes on. The student strike in 1970. I remember the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, where the student there was a tank that the student stopped right there in his tracks. I remember the Quebec student protests in 96, and Serbia, the Iran student protests in 99. We've seen most of these on our television. 2005, the Quebec student protests and the uprising in Iran and Chile in 2006. student protest, and then Chile had another one in 2011. The University of Puerto Rico strike, I remember that one, in 2010. The Quebec student protest in 2012. Man, just a lot of protests. Hong Kong students protesting for a day. I remember they protest for democracy just last year. And then, of course, the current one is the 2015 University of Missouri protest. They've been protesting, and I want to bring this up because I want to find out why. Why are they protesting? But let's look at the African-American life in America as it pertains to higher education. You remember the Little Rock Nine? The Little Rock Nine were a group of 9 African-American students enrolled in Little Rock Central High School in 1957. My mom was a member, was not a member, but a resident of Little Rock. She remembers that time in 57. Let's see, she was born in, my mom was born in 43. Okay, all right, so there you go. She was a teenager when this stuff was going on. And their enrollment was followed by a Little Rock crisis in which the students were initially prevented from entering the racial segregated schools by Orville Fabius, the governor of Arkansas. They then attended after the intervention of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The U.S. Supreme Court issued its historic Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. And tied to the 14th Amendment, the decision declared all laws establishing segregation schools to be unconstitutional. And it calls for the desegregation of all schools throughout the nation. And it was a crazy time. I remember those black students being ushered by the National Guard to be able to go to school because of the potential uprise of those racist bigots who didn't want black students to be a part of the university, of the high school at the time. Okay, now that was high school. And so history, seems to repeat itself over and over again. We do have historical black colleges, and I thank God that I was a part of the great Bethune-Cookman College, is now Bethune-Cookman University. And these HBCUs have been set up. And believe it or not, I think somebody on Facebook, it might have been Big Luke, mentioned something about the white persuasion. And yeah, here it is. Yeah. You got the Big Luke said the sad part is that most people, both blacks and non-black alike, don't know that both the fraternities, sororities, and even HBCUs were started and funded by white and Jewish people who use black organizations as the face of these said funders. And he's actually right. The Rockefellers used their multi-billion dollars actually to help fund the black families, college education and scholarships and what have you. The university right here in Chicago. Oh yeah, a lot of white, rich men and women actually helped a lot of African Americans in higher education. Joyce Hurley says, "I wished I'd seen this earlier. I've come down. Both of my kids are at wow, both of her kids are at Mizzou. Wow, didn't know that." So I have a list of historical black colleges and universities and their rankings here, and these historically black colleges and universities were compared only with one another for these rankings. And in order to be on the list, a school must be currently designed or designated by the United States Department of Education, okay, as an HBCU. And to qualify for the U.S. News ranking, an HBCU also must be an undergraduate baccalaureate granting institution that enrolls primarily first-time students, and must be a school that is part of the 2016 Best College ranking. So right quick here, Delaware State, these 21, Tennessee State, I got my college on there, number 23. I hate that it's that far, but down, but still, it's a whole lot of them. But Bethune-Cookman College, University, that is, founded in 1904. I was just so proud to walk on that campus. Many years ago, 1985, and there I was, seeing history Mary McLeod Bethune, who was the champion. She started that school with just a couple dollars, and it was an all-girls school actually. And so the Bethune name, but Cookman was an all-boys school, and so Bethune and Cookman came together. And I was blessed to be an assistant curator for the home where she actually lived. Bethune lived on campus in her home, and I would give tour guides there, and I would sometimes, I shouldn't tell this, but I would sit on her bed and just look around her bedroom and go in her kitchen, sit at the table, go in her refrigerator, you know. She died in 1955, right there in that house. And I would sit there and just be quiet, you know, just meditate and just be quiet and think about all of the things that she had done for African Americans. President Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt, his wife, assigned Mary McLeod Bethune to help out on the black struggle in America, and she would be one of the rare African Americans, other than the butler, who was invited to the White House. But then you got Bowie State University, and Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, Fayetteville State, Alabama State, Alcorn State, University of Arkansas, University of Maryland, East Shore. Okay, and I'm going backwards actually, so that we can get down to find out what would be number one college that is. Okay, we've got Morgan State. 19 is Clark Atlanta University. I visited that campus as well. Elizabeth City State. 17 is Lincoln University. 16 is Johnson S. Smith. Bennett College is 15. Dillard University, 14. Jackson State University. I've been on that campus. That's number 13. Number 12 is North Carolina Central University. Tougaloo. Definitely my cousin. Shout out to Bunny Shine, who was a graduate of Tougaloo, Mississippi. That's number 11. Okay. And then let's see. Catch up here. See if we can get down to number one to find out what is the number one historical black college or university that's on this list. Then we got Florida A&M. My first girlfriend was a student at Florida A&M. That's FAMU, as we would call them. And FAMU made news several years ago. I think it was in 2008. I'll never forget it because I was there. FAMU was our biggest rival from Bethune-Cookman College. So I came there as alumni to come and be a part of the homecoming and what have you. Actually, it was the classics, what we call it, the football classics. And right there at the game, in the parking lot, they were hazing one of the band members, and they hazed him until he died. And that made national news. And they wound up shutting down the music program there, the band program at FAMU. Yeah, number 9, North Carolina A&T. Number 8 is Catholic University. Number 7 is Fisk University. Number 6 is Xavier University of Louisiana. Tuskegee University, number 5. I visited that campus. Oh my gosh, such wonderful history. I walked in the room of the Peanut Man. Yeah, George Washington Carver and what's the other guy who was huge, has a huge name in Tuskegee. Booker T. Washington. Yeah, the both of them. I was able to sit in their rooms and sit in those chairs and just be quiet. Number 4, Morehouse College. I was able to visit that campus as well. Hampton University is number 3. Howard University is number 2 as the top-ranking historical black college, and the number 1 college as it's ranked in the U.S. News and World Report is, believe it or not, Spelman. Spelman College, founded 1881. It's a private institution. Spelman College follows a semester-based academic calendar, and its admissions are considered selective. Good old Spelman. And a lot of these, what is that? Atlanta. Yeah. ATL. Shout out to my son who's in town actually today, as we get ready to bury his grandmother tomorrow. But yeah, so the life of an African American on white campuses can be tough. It can be very difficult for them, and so I'm going to read some of the articles here and see if we could make sense of why is it so tough for African Americans on these campuses. But before we go there, let's continue with the historical black colleges. The historical black colleges are becoming more white. I took my kids back to Bethune-Cookman College, 2012, I think it was. Brought them there, let them see where the old man used to hang out. I walked them up and down what's called the quad, where the band would go and play Amazing Grace. And because some student might have died or were sick, and we would have prayer vigils there, and we'd play. And my children would sit on the benches, and they would see all of the fraternity and sorority signs and sickness and what have you. And my daughter looked at me and says, man, this is where I need to be. Because at this time, she had already got selected to be where is it? Western Illinois University. That's where she's a student now, and she's been a student for 3 years now. So she'll be on her way out real soon. But she had just got her acceptance letter. So she's like, Dad, wow, she can feel the spirit. Both of my children can feel the spirit of the unity on that college campus. You should see their faces, and I have actual video of it. And it was on that campus where I met the Lord. It's where I got saved, on that college campus right there in a park called Tuscaloosa Park. And I have video where I took the kids back and I told them the story, and you can see the somber looks on their faces. My daughter's kind of emotional anyway. My son, he cool. He didn't want y'all to see, but he kind of cool with it. But you can see the somberness on his face. And I was telling them the story on how the Lord saved me in the park late at night, about 11 o'clock. I had to tell that story one day on the air, but an average of 1 in 4 students at traditionally black schools in the United States is a different race than the one the college was intended to serve. When Junior Brandon Kirby brought home an award from a national biomedical conference, it was a nice boost for his small college in a dying coal town in the heart of Appalachia. It also seemed incongruous, given that the conference was for minorities. The college is historically black, and Kirby is white. So are 82% of the students at West Virginia's Bluefield State College, which nonetheless qualifies for a share of the more than $250 million a year in special funding the federal government set aside for historically black colleges and universities in 2011, the last year for which figures are available. These schools, known as HBCUs, can also apply for federal loans through the Historical Black Colleges and University Capital Finance Program. And last year they got $303 million from that program, on top of $1.1 billion in previous approved loans. The HBCU designation was created by Congress. Those of you who didn't know this, in 1965. We didn't just come up with this stuff, y'all. Okay? Congress set this up in 65 to refer to any accredited school established prior to 1964 whose principal mission was and is the education of black Americans. So Big Luke is correct. So HBCUs have always enrolled students of all races, but they are increasingly becoming less black. At some, like Bluefield, blacks now comprise less than half of the student body. Can you believe that? At Lincoln University in Missouri, African Americans account for 40% of enrollment, while at Alabama's Gadsden State Community College, 71% of the students are white and just 21% are black. The enrollment at St. Philip's College in Texas is half Hispanic and 13% black, according to 2001 enrollment data from the United States Department of Education. Nationwide, an average of 1 in 4 HBCU students is in a different race than the one the school was intended to serve, according to research conducted by the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. Many HBCUs were started under segregation to provide African Americans with higher education opportunities. And after integration, they became seen as places for black students to overcome economic and educational inequalities. And indeed, HBCUs have been instrumental in developing the black middle class, graduating substantial numbers of teachers, engineers, and other professionals. But as schools that had been predominantly white opened their doors to other races, black students became scarcer and scarcer at historical black colleges. And to survive, the universities have had to market themselves to all students. And I know there's some cities here and some suburbs here in Illinois do the same thing. There was a reverse type thing. I remember there's a town here called Matson. Some people call it Madison. It's really Madison, but we say Matson, Illinois, in the south suburbs. Some of my listeners live out there, and I remember in the Matson paper, right there on the surface, on the right front page, they were actually courting white people to come back. They were courting them to come back to Matson because there were so many whites were leaving and so many black people were moving in. Same way with some of the Indiana cities that borders Chicago. Okay, Maryville, Indiana is one of them, where a lot of blacks are moving in and the whites are fleeing, and the city is trying to court the whites back. Well, the black colleges are the same way. A lot of the black students are not enrolling there anymore, like it was in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s when I was there, because you were proud to be a part of those HBCU places, man. And then with the movie that came out, Spike Lee movie about the black life, it was people were like, "Wow, I'm enrolling my kid in a black college." You know, people were wanting. Well, the parents, if they saw the movie, they didn't really want to enroll them because they thought that all college life was like that. But the students who were graduated from high school, they wanted to be like that movie. And they wanted to do pledge and what have you, and they wanted to be part of that black family. Things have changed as you get further into the 90s and the 2000s. They began to, the black students began to enroll, wanting to enroll in more state white colleges, predominantly white colleges, because, well, I don't know, funding, the education in itself, the opportunity, the diversity, you know. George Cooper, the executive director of the White House Initiative on HBCU, says such wild demographic swings are a testament to the modern day flexibility of HBCUs. These schools still are, and always will be, legally considered historically black, he said. The definition is a federal definition, Cooper says. They're living up to it. I got a little commercial we're going to play at 4:30 in the Chicagoland area, y'all. Oh, everybody got announcements and everybody want to get theirs in. So we'll go ahead and get an announcement in here and come right back. It's the Walter Jones Show.
Oh no, did you miss part of today's show? Well, just head to Spreaker.com. That is Spreaker, Spreaker.com, and type in the Sir Walter Jones Show to get today's episode and past ones. So do it now.
Join Women of Vision and Destiny as we celebrate 15 years of serving and empowering women and young ladies. This power-packed weekend begins Friday, November 20th at 7 p.m. and continues Saturday, November 21st from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the luxurious Renaissance Schaumburg Hotel and Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois. Connect with other women in the Chicagoland region as we network, empower, and enlighten each other. To register or for more information, please call 312-493-4770. This is the ultimate girlfriend's getaway that you don't want to miss.
Women of Destiny, Women of Wisdom and Destiny. That's November 20th, y'all, at 7 p.m. And that's Friday and Saturday, November 20th. I think that's next week, by the way. If you've never been to the Renaissance Schaumburg Hotel and Convention Center, man, that's a beautiful place. I've been there, done some conventions there, stayed there before. The Renaissance Schaumburg Hotel. Christ Temple is one of the foundational beds of churches, African American, especially here in Chicago. If you ever went to a Bulls game at the United Center, you see that church right there on the corner. Look like it's a triangle. The church is like a triangle right there on the corner where it borders, let's see, Western, and then you got Madison, and then you got that other angle street. What's that other angle street over there, Brittany? Ain't it like three? Sunback, is that something? No, that's not Sunback. The three angle streets where that borders the United Center. But Christ Temple right there on the corner. Christ Temple Apostolic Church. A shout out to a lot of my friends over there. Elaine Robeson and the great Renee Richardson. So if you want to be a part of that wonderful Women of Wisdom and Destiny, call 312-493-4770. 312-493-4770. We'll play them again in the next coming days. But go ahead and play A, Brittany. This is where the protest started with the students at Mizzou.
More supporters in their camp. Sunday night, roughly 100 faculty members and teaching assistants from the Department of Education showed up to encourage an encampment of students protesting in solidarity with graduate student Jonathan Butler. He says he won't eat until the University of Missouri system president resigns.
You've seen after Ferguson, strong leadership come out of the student body to say, we can't do this anymore. We have to make changes.
Changes to a campus that some students say is an unsafe learning environment for minorities, citing several racial incidents over the past semester. Homecoming king Peyton Head says the same thing happened to him.
This isn't just me who is going through this. These are students coming from all different backgrounds who endure this.
If you're different, if you're not white, male, Christian, conservative, you get treated differently.
As protesters' demands gain national attention, some say campus is tense. It was unclear who paraded the Confederate flag past protesters Sunday, but the intent seemed obvious to those who saw it.
Students are now being threatened, and violence can escalate, and we just hope those things don't happen.
It's affecting regular, just everyday class. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. It just seems like, from what I've been hearing, that a lot of students are either getting irritated with it or think that it's something good.
I think we're all kind of confused about who's to blame here, and I guess the right actions to take to actually see some improvement here.
While these protesters and others wait to see if Monday's Board of Curators meeting results in any leadership changes, graduate students across the campus are said to be walking out of class both Monday and Tuesday.
President Wolf issued a statement today saying he was dedicated to ongoing dialogue and promised specific plans in the coming months. He says he is listening to all sides and is confident they can come together to improve the student experience.
That's what he said. And if you go to B, Brittany, he resigns.
It is my belief we stopped listening to each other. We didn't respond or react. We got frustrated with each other, and we forced individuals like Jonathan Butler to take immediate action or unusual steps to effect change. This is not, I repeat, not the way change should come about. Change comes from listening, learning, caring, and conversation. And we have to respect each other enough to stop yelling at each other and start listening and quit intimidating each other through either our role or whatever means that we decide to use. Unfortunately, this has not happened, and that is why I stand before you today, and I take full responsibility for this frustration, and I take full responsibility for the inaction that has occurred. I'd ask everybody, from students to faculty, to staff, to my friends, everybody, use my resignation to heal and start talking again, to make the changes necessary, and let's focus on changing what we can change today and in the future, not what we can't change, which is what happened in the past. I truly love everybody here in the great institution, and my decision to resign comes out of love, not hate.
Mm-hmm. The brother went on a hunger strike, and they pitched tents on the lawns. They rallied, sit in, and protested, marched. He wouldn't budge. He ignored them. They blocked his car. He wouldn't go nowhere. He wouldn't talk to them. It wasn't until the football team got involved, and they decided, with the coach, that they're not going to play no more games until this man steps down. So it was not until the football team stepped in is when he stepped out, because it was going to cost the college millions of dollars. You understand what I'm saying? And it wasn't, I don't think it was the volunteer act of the president. It was the stockholders, because he is at the pleasure of them. It was the board of directors, those people. They are the ones that says what's they have the last say, not the president. The president of a college is like the president of the United States. You really don't have the last say. And in some aspects, he is the puppet. But when they realized about that millions of dollars going to be lost because the football team was not going to play, they says, we're not going to let one fool stand in the way of the college getting the fundings to continue to operate. And they says, brother, you got to step down. So it appears that he resigned on his own accord, but no, I do not believe that happened. But Mizzou's racial gap is typical on college campuses. Thousands of college students across the country on Thursday joined protests demanding that their schools do more to address racism and discrimination on campus. And students at many campuses are calling for an increase in the diversity of faculty and more resources to help minority students succeed. And the data suggests that they do have a point. Colleges across the country are far less diverse than the communities that they serve. The protests began at the University of Mizzou, we know, where top administrators, they resigned on Monday following weeks of student strikes, demonstrations, and at Yale, where students have engaged in public verbal battles with faculties over racial insensitivity. At Claremont McKenna College in California, student demonstrations and a hunger strike forced the dean of students to resign on Thursday. At Ithaca College in upstate New York, students are demanding the resignation of college president over his handling of racial issues on campus. And colleges across the country are scrambling to schedule forums, convene task forces, or find other ways to address rising student unrest. They are afraid all across the country. They're like, if Mizzou black kids had this man to resign, we in trouble. We need to start listening to these black students, or the same thing is going to happen to us. It's a shame that this had to happen. It isn't surprising that the protests have spread beyond Missouri. On Thursday, we looked at the demographics of the University of Missouri's flagship campus in Columbia, and found that African American students, faculty, and staff are all underrepresented compared to the share of African American residents in the state overall. Also, graduation and retention rates are lower for African American students than students of other races. But Mizzou is no outlier on these measures. We looked at 2013 data from the U.S. Department of Education for 4 years, for a 4-year university with heavy research activity, a proxy for the selective schools that are Mizzou's peers, and we excluded historically black universities and colleges, which have much higher black enrollment and skew the overall figures. And they gave us the figures. And most of these schools, like Mizzou, African Americans are underrepresented relative to their share of the 18 to 24-year-old population in the state where the university is located. And this is true regardless of region, and the difference in the percentages tends to widen in states that have a higher percentage of black residents. So Mizzou, where 8.2% of undergraduates are black, compared with 15% of the state's college-age residents, is almost exactly in line with its peers in terms of how representative its student body is. And even across all high-level research universities, including all of the public HBCUs, blacks were underrepresented compared with the overall young adult population in every state except West Virginia. Here, too, Missouri was pretty much in line with other states. Mizzou is not some wild, different, out-of-the-box situation. No. Mizzou's situation this week is not unique at all. It's pretty much what's happening on many of the white campuses today in America. Have we overcome? In a sense, we have. But more so, overcoming. It's a process. And we're not trying to say that blacks should overtake. We do have our black universities, and we've done well to raise up many professional men and women who have built America on what the black universities have done. But if we're talking about racial equality and not looking at a person, and one thing that shocks me is I'm kind of surprised at some of the white students of today, because if you look at the unrest on when a police shoots a black child, you look at the ones who are marching in the streets, a lot of them are white students, white young Americans. They're in their teens, 20s, and young, maybe young 30s, usually where it stops, because they have friends who are African Americans, and they try to show their solidarity and their patriotism, I guess, letting them their friends know that I'm there for you and with you. That's what you're seeing on the streets. But then when you go to their campuses, you say, how could bigotry run rapid in here? And I think a lot of it has to do with their parents, of course. And you look at where these colleges are located, many of them in the South and some Midwest territories where racism is very huge. All right? I live in the Midwest, so we think because we're in Chicago that there is no racism. Please. I've been called a nigger word so many times here in my 50 years on this earth, right here in Chicago. I lived in South Dakota. And trust me, that's actually South Dakota is the real Midwest. Chicago really is, we call it Midwest, but it's really Mideast. It's more east than it is west. So South Dakota is the real Midwest. We call it the plain areas, the Dakotas, Wyoming, and all these areas, but they really the Midwest. And I've seen racism there probably more so than I did in Chicago. A smaller town, and you see more of it because we're right on top of them, pretty much. But racial disparities are even larger at private colleges. where many of this week's protests have taken place, at Yale, home to some of the earliest and most intense demonstrations. Just 6.7% of undergraduates are black, compared with 14.9% of college-age residents in Connecticut. In New Haven, where Yale is located, the college-age population is about 25% black. Private colleges, especially elite schools like Yale, draw students from across the country. So the state or local population isn't necessarily the best benchmark for comparison. But top private universities are only modestly less black than equivalent public ones. And perhaps surprisingly, nonprofit private colleges as a whole are no less diverse than public ones, while for-profit colleges are substantially more diverse. When I attended the Bethune-Cookman College, it's a private institution. It's a private Christian university. Believe it or not, it's a Methodist college. We had mass, every week. We had a chapel, private. But I guarantee you, there's some racism going on in there. They call it reverse racism. A white student pop up on that campus, everybody's talking about that new white freshman that showed up on our campus. Sure did. That's just the way it was. And a lot of it, was curiosity. And a lot of the students were like, yeah, that's great. But then the other ones who are ignorant says, what are you doing here? It's a black college. Yeah, well, the white colleges and campuses are doing the same thing for you. It's like, what are y'all doing? This campus belong to us. We're letting y'all be a part of it, but you can't be homecoming king. Well, if you go to This Week in Mizzou, when they talked about the homecoming king, when they showed him, he ain't white. The homecoming king, if I'm not mistaken, his skin was dark. And they were talking about how they was calling him nigger. Okay? So the picture is a bit different on another important measure of college university, graduation rates, the racial gap in college completion, the percentage of students who earn a bachelor's degree within 6 years of enrollment. It's wide across the country, and it's particularly stark at top universities. But the University of Mizzou's flagship campus did significantly, through not dramatically, worse. They did worse than the national trend. Mizzou did. And so we could talk about a lot of the African-American students who are on these campuses and what they go through, but I think this week woke up a lot of Americans. A lot of white people, as well as blacks, saw the black life on white campuses and how they are treated. And it's not horrible for all black students, no. But you would see through this story of Mizzou what's really going on in America with this. It doesn't appear that the racial gap in graduation rates is narrowing, Some of that is due to the disparity in college readiness. But still, the wide disparities in both enrollment and completion are a national issue that goes beyond any one campus. And they will likely need to address it. These protesters and administrators, people are going to find out the real truth. And this week's Mizzou protests was just a wake-up call for all the stuff that's getting ready to happen. And so now we're looking at these grown men on the TV fussing. I was looking at Donald Trump, his rant last night in one of his town home meetings, whatever they call those things. He went crazy on Dr. What's the doctor's name? What's the black doctor who's running for president? Carson. Y'all need to look at your news and see all the things. When I saw what Donald Trump was saying about Carson and Carson's book and his testimony about being violent and hitting his mom with a hammer and all this stuff and overcoming that and becoming this great respected doctor. Oh my gosh, the things that Donald Trump was saying about this man was absolutely childish. And those people in the audience this is the first time I've seen audience members confused. Many of them are clapping and supporting what he said because he's Donald Trump, and they support whatever. When you support a man wholeheartedly, you jump in wholeheartedly, you got to be careful because you're going to be pulled into the rhetoric and the falseness and the childlike ways. You'll get pulled into all that stuff. So I'm not blaming Donald Trump because he is a megalomaniac. He something is mentally wrong with him. But I'm looking at all these people, no matter what he say, they cheer him on. And he was cussing on the thing. He was teasing Carson about a belt buckle and about him being mentally ill, and he says that a child molester is just like Carlson. I mean, it was amazing what he was saying, and I'm looking on the news, and the news is playing this stuff this morning, and you can see the news pundits looking at the screen like, I can't believe I'm hearing what I'm hearing. It's just amazing to me that we allow this stuff to go on, and yet, no matter what he says, his poll numbers jump to the top. Why? Because there's so many Americans out there who believe what he believes, and they share what he shares. Paul Rogers says, I always wonder why Church of God in Christ never fully supported Saints Industrial. All the best colleges, that is, at other institutions of higher learning, Saints had more land than ORU. That's right. My wonderful father, my dear father, and my brothers tried to reconstruct the college down there in Lexington, Mississippi. I was there. I went through there. I saw the work of Mallory, and I saw those old dusty books down there, and us closing it and trying to get Saints College, Saints whatever, through J.O. Patterson while we were trying to sell a bunch of lotion. Our lotion selling days, Paul Rogers, I'm sure you might remember those days. Yeah, we could talk about that at another time because it is a shame that we do have a lot of white Christian organizations that have their own colleges and universities. The Catholics have theirs. But we, as Protestants, not so much. But the breaking news at least 11 people have been killed in several shootings in the French capital, Paris. How many? Ain't that something? Good Lord. It's up to 60 now. And that's over just a few minutes. That was since about 10 minutes. It went from 18 to 60 in 10 minutes. So it don't need me to continue to read this, but this is a national terrorist attack here. And I think they have hostages now. They have 40 to 100 people. Yeah, 40 to 100 people held hostages. It's bad. Yeah, let's pray for Paris. Pray for Paris right now if you can, that this gets resolved quickly because this could be happening to us. Also this week, I'm going to play this outro here because it's about 7 minutes. I think it's, is the story of you guys are going crazy over this cup. Starbucks, the red cup. Christians are going crazy. They are saying they want to boycott Starbucks because, well, they took off it's an attack on, it's a war on Christmas. All right. So put back the red-nosed reindeer and Santa Claus and all of these funny little things to remind you of Christmas. But they're forgetting one important little piece of icon on the cups, and that's that mermaid. Nobody had a big fuss about that. Everybody's drinking that, having a great time. And every year they bring in Santa in the wonderful colors, but they took the colors away, but they left the mermaid there. This is going to show you how ridiculous Christians are today. All right? I'm going to sign off. See y'all Monday, Men's Chronicles, Women's Guide to Men. Go to Spreaker.com and hear all of our shows if you want to. If not, God bless you. Listen to this soundbite, and we'll talk to you later. Be safe this weekend. Sir Walter Jones Show.
The Starbucks logo, a mythological half-woman typically called a siren. The half-fish, half-woman variety is usually known as a mermaid. According to the ancient Greeks, sirens seduced mariners with songs and promises of sex and then killed them. The original cigar band Starbucks logo had a slightly altered version of the 15th century twin-tailed siren, Melusine. In the legend, Melusine agreed to marry a man on the condition that she be left alone one day a week to do as she pleased in private. After some years, the man became jealous and broke into her room. There he discovered that his wife assumed the form of a mermaid. Angry that he broke his promise, Melusine transformed herself into a dragon and departed in a shrieking fury. He never saw her again. Heckler Associates, the design firm behind the Starbucks logo, modified the logo at a few points in the company's history. The first time was when they were designing the first Starbucks delivery trucks. The logo was huge, and so the attention went to certain areas on the mermaid. Heckler said he was getting some flack about the mermaid looking pregnant, so he redrew her belly button to appear as a question mark. It remained that way for a year or two. Heckler also redrew her hairstyle to cover up her breasts. As Starbucks expanded across the country, the number of letters from women complaining about the siren's risque pose grew, and so he made further changes. Then came the more familiar green version of the logo. The chest was hidden, but the belly button and only a hint of the tails remained. Stars were also added. In Portland, Oregon, we saw a new type of siren on the Starbucks sign. She only had one tail. Perhaps the image of a fish woman spreading her tails is on its way out. What is this powerful attraction to the mermaid that is so compelling? The mermaid claims a long and rich ancestry that dates back to a multitude of fishtail gods and goddesses from some of man's earliest civilizations. The sea, as womb of creation and the source of wisdom, has always played an important role in world beliefs. The gods of the sea are among some of the most powerful in history. Their strength lives on in a host of entities, symbolic of the shifting, ever-changing, dual nature of the sea as both life-giver and destroyer. Ever since man first set to sea to deliver coffee and spices, sailors have tried to ensure safe passage by attempting to make peace with unpredictable water gods by mounting a mermaid on the ship's figurehead. Years later, the mermaid and siren images started appearing during World War II in the form of nose art on thousands of bombers and fighter escorts. Mermaids have beckoned the adventurous to the unknown and the promise of forbidden fruits. In numerous tales told of them, they would often foretell the future and give supernatural powers to human beings, or fall in love with human beings and entice their mortal lovers to follow them beneath the sea. Wells, springs, rivers, and lakes were sacred places in many cultures. Sacred waters are traditionally haunted by various female spirits, suggesting suppressed memories of a goddess. The water habitat symbolizes fertility, mystery, purification, reflection, motion, life, power, and the subconscious. In many of the mermaid and siren myths, the protagonist dissolves into the depths of the water. Behind the seductive image of the siren lurks the metaphor of death and metamorphosis. We were born of the water and have transmuted into the human form. Carl Jung suggests that supernatural forces spring from the fusion of two biologically different entities, opposites that embrace and explain practically everything. Jung believed symbols materialize on their own account in our dreams, the expression of which is beyond the dimensions of time and space, and in the sphere of unspecified and unlimited. These symbols possess a numinous character and impress themselves on the general consciousness, disturbing for those minds used to operation within the limits of logic and rationality. He says we can suppose that primordial images, sediments of accumulated memory, collective input have a life of their own, independent of single individuals. Jung also observed, a symbol always stands for something more than its obvious and immediate meaning. Post-Freudian thought had exposed the legendary fish-tailed seductress as the personification of the hidden desires of the sexual subconscious, symbolizing primitive castration anxieties and the urge to return to the amniotic waters of the womb. For the medieval church, the harlot mermaid personified the unnatural desires which stood between a man and his chance of salvation. Lilith, the one goddess with 1,000 names, is one of the most popular identities in human culture. She dates back as far as 2,000 years BC as depicted by the Sumerians. In other depictions, Lilith is represented as a beautiful woman from the waist up and as a snake from the waist down. Lilith typically symbolizes rebellion, rage, and an untamed sexual nature. She is also known as a Sumerian demon, a seductive succubus, the bride of Satan, and Adam's first wife. Barbie was copied from a German adult doll by the name of Lily. Now young girls today can buy Mermaid Barbie or go see The Little Mermaid. The powerful role that mermaids, goddesses, and sirens continue to play in our culture confirms the depth of their identity in the human experience and our collective unconscious. They embody themes that are always with us, but not often on the surface of our daily experience and perception. There is a Kurdish proverb that says, "He who wants pearls has to dive into the sea," and a Russian proverb that says, "Not everything is a mermaid that dives into the water." The song of the siren calls us to hurl into the deep, to transform, to die to self and emerge into a new form with new knowledge and understanding. All of this when you drink a Starbucks coffee.
Hey ladies and gents, if you missed any of today's show, head to Spreaker.com and search The Sir Walter Jones Show and listen to this show and past shows. Now remember, search for The Sir Walter Jones Show on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker spelled Spreaker.com. And enjoy.
You have been listening to The Sir Walter Jones Show, where Sir Walter Jones provides you with a biblical perspective on everyday life. Stay connected to Sir Walter Jones at his website, www.sirwalterjones.com. Search The Sir Walter Jones Show on Facebook or follow on Twitter at Sir Walter's Music. Until next time, thank you for listening to The Sir Walter Jones Show with Sir Walter Jones.
Right, Mr. Walters?